We're back. And just in case you want to know, we're talking on the microphone here until someone decides to sit down and be quiet. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I didn't have to do my song or silly stuff. So, who is that mysterious man who's the kicker off of He's going to raise the mic. Give David Erdreich a hand. He's the last word. He's going to kick off the second half and start the second and end the second half like we know he can. Hello, baby.
This is not the Big Bopper. So I'm going to start with throwing things at people who are talking.
Oh, there's my glasses. Crying out.
Oh, all right. Okay. Number one.
Sorry, I'm stopping.
This is called Tutu Tango. The pattern of paternity stretches to eternity. Father leads to son, the one and only one. Adversity, diversity, the cup, the pouch, the purse that be the holder of the gem, the stitcher of the hem. For hidden in the needle point, a spark with which I thee anoint. To carry out a sacred trust, to thread the way through boom or bust, an even keel, a burnished beam, you'll rise atop like sweetest cream, a berry teeming fresh with juice, a sharpened blade all set for use, like Hotspur matched against future king. Home the spirit, fate will fling you deep into the frothed fray upon the shore. Wash up today, time tested, tempered to a fault. You'll split the earth, open the vault. On diadem, a gleaming pearl, perhaps you've met your favorite girl. She, the keeper of your flame, in short, by any other name, there is nothing like a dame.
There ain't nothing like a dame. Nothing.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
There are days when I don't seize. I caress. I savor. Playing ball with the grandson becomes more important than watching the Warriors knock the crap out of the Cavaliers for the championship. When the co-inky-dink of joy blends into a fan's passion, the best of both possible worlds just requires a simple ball toss. The robin sits absolutely still on her nest high up in the orange tree, her tail unmoving, the only clue that there is a tree house right next to the main house where a small child's frolic is an indication of a safe place to fledge young birds.
Nice.
And here's a saxophone ball. Sometimes the horn fires me to write. This is called Hacha. Sometimes you just gotta hop on it. You don't see the tracks. You ain't no hophead. But those parallel lines say, all aboard! Allegory, sticky mess, just keep on keeping on the best guess. Intuition in ignition. You've lit it up. Now play, Misty, Maestro, Moishi. Rock on Stonehenge, take 2 tablets in the morning and see me on Demos. Place the planetoid under your tongue, bet a song on ascending rungs, mount the cab in the cabin, set your bejesus down, buckle up your chin music, blow, Gabe, blow! The ivories, then give me the 5 of these, double them down, dog and the hound, Reggio arpeggio. I think you've made a ripple. I think you've bent the ether. Now play nonstop for 7 hours, then you'll take a breather. I once played for 7 hours many years ago, maybe 30 years ago, and I thought about 2.5 hours had passed. It was like this time of year, because it was still light out. I played for 7 hours.
Wow.
No, had no clue. No clue.
Nice.
All right, David Erdreich, ladies and gentlemen. I shouldn't do that. Shem. Give it up for him. Come on, give him a round of applause out there. Let's do it.
Okay, this is brand spanking new. And in keeping with the theme.
Oh, good.
Wordsmithing myself into smithereens. I give credence to blustery, filibustering interlocutors whose tireless rants manage to establish squatters' rights inside my head muscle, skull cavity, brain space, dusty attic, bell tower, blood cooling station, where I have learned to imagine my mind must be located. Contractual obligations, however, require a reeling in of hyperbolic meanderings, and with swift, grand brush strokes, I hastily paint myself into a corner, but there must be a window to climb out of, right? And if not, must cut one open directly through the lath and plaster into the framing, an oily patina, the only remnant of tar paper that no longer is, bust out of the dry rotted shiplap siding into the open. But what if there is no there, and I find myself suspended in midair with nary a parachute in sight? A tree's branches, when cut close to the trunk, leave scars like unblinking eyes. I suspected early on, and have since been met with countless confirmations, that most often it's through the lacerations, the lopped limbs and shattered shields, the busted open boxes whose lids will no longer close, not even by force, that we connect. Vulnerable, exposed, trembling. Our messy inner reverberations coagulating, dripping oozily into each other's secret spaces, seeping through the cracks in our quietest corners, where broken mirror bits and pieces adorn foot-worn floorboards in our souls, for lack of a better word, corridors. The silvery shards of remembrances past cannot be grasped too eagerly for fear they slice the palms of our hands, our fingers, the soles of our bare feet as we wander through each other's storied confessions and embellishments. But only when you flash a furtive glance at mine, and me a fleeting glimpse at yours, carefully cradled so as not to cut oneself, do we even begin to take any kind of actual breaths inside each other's universes. Do we stand a chance of comprehending the subtle nuances, the dancing of light and dark behind another's eyes? There's a reason why we as infants fixate on faces and follow the expressions in our grown-ups' eyes. It's where the meanings are held and released, where we learn about safety and danger, right and wrong, fear and anger, joy and pain, funny and serious, not enough and too much, and all the other various and sundry subtly hinted at permutations of the mixing of yeses and nos. How we mean what we mean, how we learn to hold the inevitable hurts that come our way in these early years, how we learn to process the pain so it keeps us connected to our grown-up spaces, those big people we have no choice but to love and depend on and learn from, for better and for worse, for everything. We are all discontinuous, fragmented creatures who need to be seen, heard, and held despite and because of injury. In order to find and share our metaphors, to make sure we mean something beyond ourselves. To not get stuck in the double binds of shifting levels of logic, in the giving and withholding dances, in the condoning and cajoling songs, the containing and releasing raps telling us what to expect no matter how contradictory from each next step we take. To the degree that we are able to overlap, coordinate and consent to our shared quotidian humdrum days, and be there to catch each other in our inevitable nightfalls, we can claim our small specks of sanity, or at least a madness reflected and refracted in someone else's mirror, no matter how chipped or cracked. And in doing so, not slip into an infinitely recurring fractalized universe of ultra-mega-meta metaphors frantically thrown together in a desperate attempt to make it back to the surface where meaning is shared. Not get trapped in that self-referential maze of isolated intensity, driving us deeper into the wormhole of a shattering self, drowning at the bottom of the ocean of language. The life raft that can keep us afloat is built from hearing, seeing, confirming each other. Yes, you're there. Yes, I am here. Yes, we are still floating on this raft.
Shem, thank you. I do have a question here. Someone wrote on the attribution sheet, they wrote endangered species, enduring values.
That's me.
That's
That's the name of the book.
oh yeah, but I don't have your name next to that thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just want to. That's why I saw it and go. Why did I did that? All right. I forgot one other thing in my. Oh yeah. Hold on a second. In the prizes, there are also these that are not book prizes: the mini feature, the keynote, the co-pilot, choosing the next week themes, and the last word, which David is doing. And now, Sharon Scott Kish will she kindly come up here. Book playing book. Rob, I see you over there. You're on, Rob. We got you.
Okay, the theme is insanity.
Insanity, yes, dear.
Okay, this is insanity.
Thank you.
And the title is called Pink Rubbers and Pink Tubes. The early 50s, Playtex made these rubber girdles. They had small perforations, which eventually became big holes. Oops. The premise was to sweat the belly and the booty off. Wrong. All they achieved was misery. Eva, my grandmother, was small, didn't need it. Billy, my aunt, was a dancer, didn't need it. Beatrice, my mother, said, hell no. Aunt Marjorie and the other girls bought into it. Uncle Buster tried to tell them it wouldn't work. The design was bad, and there was no talking him out of it. Aunt Margie and her girlfriends couldn't wait to get to Emory Bird Thayer to get theirs. The girdles came in a pink round tube about 25 inches long. First you had to put talcum on your body, or the suckers wouldn't budge. Then came the fun part, wiggling like a belly dancer, and the task of squeezing into those contraptions. Rubber snapping, women sweating, sitting down on the bed to rest, mopping sweat, starting all over again. Had to start a little early because this show took a lot of time. All of the men who witnessed the scene were hysterical. Some helped out, but most observed in shock and shook their head. Now, mind you, once they get this contraption on, they couldn't breathe, much less eat. A day of working was misery. Marjorie worked at the Internal Revenue, hard work. Before that, the post office. At the Internal Revenue, she was at the desk, and these girls cut off their circulation, so she would have to get up and walk around. Couldn't eat too much for lunch, or she was miserable. Each day, a new complaint from her or one from her friends. The same thing was going on with her fellow co-workers. If it seems too good to be, well, it was. But just in case there's a shortage of them, they all went out and bought extras. So how to put this contraption on without looking foolish? You can't. Can't figure out what to do, and if your fingernails are too long, oh shit. Punch a hole in it. Don't use talc. It dries out and cracks. Smells like an old rubber baby doll. Sound of girdles and taffeta slips rustling, but these made sticking sounds. A rash, oh yeah, especially in the humid summer. The longer they had them, the more ailments and product failures they came. Notice came no weight loss. Added misery, couldn't get this booby trap fastened to my nylons in the back. Since you're bound either to put them on or not fasten them, the nylons might fall down. Okay. Oops. Another nylon falls. If you spring a hole, well, you look like a lump on your butt, like you have a bug. Like all children in the 40s and 50s, when companies came over, you have your performance. Either you latest musical, recite a poetry, or play, performing your role. I did this often, but one of my favorite things was my impersonation. The latest things around the neighborhood, so it's Saturday night, people are at Marge and Uncle Buster's, fried shrimp, coleslaw, cocktail sauce, strong cheeses and crackers, Braunschweiger, German mustard, herring, olives, pickles, and beer. Cocktails, highballs, cigars, cigarettes, and cards. Showtime. Hattie gets up to sing, round woman, soprano, croaks like an old frog when she sings for the high notes. Barbara gets up to sing, also, little bitty voice like Betty Boop. Sings, I can't give you anything but love, baby. Ooh. Her girdle snaps and her stockings fall. We are hysterical. She has had a wardrobe failures before. Once her panties fell off in front of Macy's, and she kicked them to the curb. A young man picked them up, caught them, and handed them to her. She just keeps singing, slips off the girdle, kicks it, and keeps going. Well, I'm next. KK, do your latest impersonation. Okay? I have them. I put on I Can't Give You Anything But Love Again, and I sing. And I do an impersonation of Aunt Marjorie wiggling into her girdle. I bought the house down. Laughter, especially the women. Shortly after that, most of the women retired the girdles either in the under doctor's duress or because it was just too much fucking trouble. Eventually, they aren't made anymore. When I closed Aunt Margie's home, I found one in the attic, opened it up, and it cracked into pieces like we did at that party. The wild kids.
St. Louis. All right, who is next? Oh, Nicole. Nicole. Give her a nice round of applause. She has not been here in a while. A beautiful voice. Just get close to the microphone so we can hear you, that's all. There we go. And
Oh, I'm actually wearing heels tonight. I'm smaller. Yeah. Okay, didn't have the theme, but I will run with it. I'll read my first piece. It's really nice to be back here, by the way, and see everyone.
good to see
You
you.
guys are like such special faces in my heart, someplace special. Bubble in a Heart. This is my first piece. You think too much and swallowed your thoughts. Now you got a bubble in your heart, rolling side to side and just getting bigger. You don't look too good, they say. You say everything's alright, but you're just getting sicker. Sicker from every single idea that people are crazy, but it's also your fear. False evidence appearing real. Wish you could feel more funny and play, like the time we were at the candy store all day. You haven't felt content for a long while. I can tell you're sad even when you smile. Wish I could crawl into your heart, grab those thought bubbles and poke them with a dart. But you won't let me in. You won't let me in. There you go. I lost you again. This has nothing to do with insanity, but if you want to relate it to insanity, that's fine too. This is called Dancing with Bowie. Is it warm where you are? Are you dancing with Bowie day in and out on a Ziggy Star? Can you touch anything? Can you see me down here? Does Earth seem ridiculous? What about all my fears? The ones I told you about the last time we spoke. You said the doctors were done. There's nothing they can do. Did you hear what I said? You asked me twice. My jaw dropped open. My heart cracked. Grief. You would be gone soon and wouldn't be back. I miss you, Diane. I really do. You went away so fast like a blown fuse. I miss our talks on the phone, but you're dancing with Bowie now. Yeah, I know you're not alone. In case you can hear me now, I'm in my old hood with my big dog. He's white and brown. He's a rebel, people cross the street. They ask me if he bites, I tell him he's sweet. He's a Casanova everywhere we go. Rough, he's the prince of San Francisco. My last one is very short. It's called An Ode to Miss London Breed. It's done. She won.
All right, and now the mysterious wonder person of the century, the person whom you've all spoken highly of over the centuries and millennia. Mr. Greg Pond, would you kindly come forward, please? I gave him a little bit of an extra so he'd be mysteriously surprised. Mr. Greg Pond! Woo! Oh, I courtesy telephone.
It's nice to be back.
Yes, it is.
Insanity.
Ah. Gott sei Dank.
Boy next door. Upstairs, stashed away, out of sight and hearing range. No one asks anymore about the boy next door, who acts too strange to be public shown. Whereabouts vaguely explained. Reclusive 6, 2 parents, 4 kids, including Mr. Family Shame. Silently hidden and tucked, well out of harm's way. Backroom ruckus and fray. Middle of the night screaming and enraged. Disrupts the whole household, 'cause no one warms the door, except for hot meals or exchange clean clothes for worn. Sometimes locked away, grown so strong and wild, single latch ripped off, mad dash to the front door, fortunately caught in time, subdued and held in place. Brush the embarrassment away, harder to do than say, brought to the holiday table at guarded risk. 1 hour later, untouched dinner plate, non-stop fork tap, barely eaten chocolate cake. Thick in dread disarray, hair of woolly lint covers barely a hint of understanding displayed. Family in denial, minimizing, oh, he's just a little touched, he's not really crazed. Unkempt, disconnected, and dazed. Stays out of sight and hearing range. No one asks anymore about the boy next door. No longer public shown since he started acting strange.
And that's from one of his books. And now for another one of his books. He has to blow his own horn every once in a while.
And this one is, I guess, in celebration of Father's Day, I guess, sort of, kind of. And it's called Little Blue. I wrote it for my son, actually years before he came about. This one's for boys little, black or blue, who take the long way home just to play. It's safe and stay far away from harm. I reach out my arms as far as I can. I do what any dad can do to pass on a few words of wisdom or points of view to my little blue, walking fast and whistling past Broken Bottle Park, trying to safely get home to me before it gets too dark. And if one day while running late he decides to tempt fate and decides to shortcut time, will the sharks and jets let him pass them by undisturbed? Or will they attempt to change his smile? Meanwhile, I desperately try to stretch my Spider-Man hands wide enough to sweep aside rocks, crack glass, and lock down streets before they all seek to block his future or litter his path. Someday, knowing a finger may beckon with a question to Little Blue walking alone, I can only pray from day to day that he won't stray from taking the long way home.
ladies and gentlemen. As I say. And now we have the mini feature of the evening, Mr. I'm a little sarcastic, huh? Perhaps. Anyway. Let me get some else. Okay. Called the little girl's birthday. Melanie seems to be going through growing pains as she spoke her mind in the kitchen of her sister's house in Oakland, helping her prepare seafood and sausage gumbo. With roots in Louisiana, the gumbo was good, but unfortunately, her relationship to two of her sisters, one whose house we all were packed into eating good food, is not. Melanie fumed a bit, considers her home in just about every other part of the world too. Yet, the 8-year-old seemed to be having fun, or at least trying to do so. Her braided hair was full of plastic berets, and her heart was full of hope. Afterward, at around 11:30 at night, I dropped Melanie off at BART near her apartment. I am sad that my friend is so unhappy. Don't worry about that. It's about 55 minutes. It's about 55 minutes until poetry in Cafe Trieste, which used to have famous poets who hang out there. Now it has mostly non-famous poets, yet good ones. We work hard at our craft. There's one about my beloved grandpa. He was the best guy I've ever known. Boo Boo. His short, snowy, gray hair, his bony temples and great big brain, sitting late 60s, nose held by nape of fingers, slim butt on old wooden grandstands, baseball strategist. Here's one I marked. Oh! This is about a guy we all, quote, love, unquote. One of my supervisors, this is called Stormy Inauguration. One of my supervising teachers is out, a smart woman who cares if our students learn, protesting the conservative, not elected by San Francisco, trumped out inauguree, who doesn't hide his arrogance, representing the rich right, 1% of the population. We, 99%, pissed off by his election to the highest office in the land. Some years ago, I had a temporary job where the supervisor said that the President of the United States was a mostly ceremonial position, though Trump really seems like he's getting involved in the ceremony. It's a sad day for the overwhelmingly San Francisco Bay population. And if there were another country, 3,000 miles away. There are Trump supporters in San Francisco too, mostly transplants from eastern and western lands, I imagine. That's America for you. For us in the Bay Area, our fists raised or held down, except in our hearts. All right.
This is a complot. this is called expectation. I want no expectation, just to hang out and help in any way. Right-brained, creative people. Write a poem or a sentence, whatever's cool. All right. Trump blues. San Francisco is sad about Donald Trump winning the presidency. That includes me.
It could be worse. Then again, no.
Yeah, we could have Putin or something.
We do it.
Yeah, we do kind of, right? That's true, we do. Katy Perry says, "You and I will be young forever. I hate to say it, but it's already too late for that reality." I love it when I amuse myself. This is called Adele. This is when, sometimes I just listen to the radio for the hell of it, because I love to imagine making all that money and being able to sing too, which neither happens. But anyway, I get to read some poems. Huh? This is called Adele. Adele says, "Hello," I say goodbye, leaving my small room to do poetry with a few other fellows, usually. But some great, that's the Cafe Trieste. This is much more diverse, which I prefer. People saying there's trouble here. I agree. People saying all the new administration is a total mess. Oh, actually, I'm saying that.
We presented, ladies and gentlemen, our mini of the evening. That's one of the fancy door prizes we got here. And now, the wonderful, the amazing Eric Murphy. Yeah. Eric Murphy, and we got Evie, then Zane, then Rob, then David closing it out. As I like to say, even as I don't like to say it.
Three travesties end in many. From the whole of Africa they were snatched by raiders, random without regard to region or clan or family, shipped away far from connections to home or to culture, to be split further and further from legitimate names. Today most names are the same as those of the captors, and connections are to this day irrevocably lost. Through years of splitting and mixings and mix-ups, they had to make an all-new culture like a jigsaw puzzle with at least half of the pieces lost, stolen, or destroyed. In many ways, for oppressors, theirs are the ultimate result. Already on the land was another cultural group who nonetheless was also believed illegitimate. They were ravaged and savaged and wiped out by invaders, and as if that was not more than enough, their families were also deliberately torn asunder, carted off to good Christian white families to learn the real culture in place of their own, wiping out the connections through intermingle or starvation. It took an act of Congress to put a stop to that, though the damage will and has lasted much longer. Now the notorious mentality truant delinquents known as Little Jeffrey Sessions and Little Johnny Kelly dare to deliberately pull migrant children from their parents under the usual tactic of a tough deterrent. T-Rex tactic or tyrant decree are the more apt monikers for that diabolical plot. The goal is, of course, a reprise of the usual chaotic desire to making America lily white. The adage, "what does not kill you makes you stronger," conveniently neglects to add the postscript, "and ages you," which of course is another desire of the would-be enforcers, namely the figurative and literal elimination of culture. The lady is a chump. Roseanne Barr wanted so bad to become a distaff chump, and oh, did she ever succeed.
Oh,
Yes. The weight of history is against her. Evie is next. We'll honor her with a nice round of applause. We got Zane, Rob, and David. We're going to bring it up here. And there we go. There we go.
Is this fine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, this is some kind of Father's Day poem. I am Blazer. Relapsed again. Can't tell you the details, but I'm in Quentin. Maybe out in March. Was hoping I'd get a holiday card. Wrote a letter to the church, to the people who run the Wednesday night suppers ministry. Maybe they never got it. Maybe the guards never let it out. Maybe they got my prison number wrong when they wrote me back. Or maybe the guards just chucked it. I've got a 4-year-old. What's he gonna think? Boys coming my way.
Thank you. Evie. Zane. Zane, and then Rob, and David. Give it to us, Zane.
Hi friends, my name is Zane. Thanks for being here. It's good to be alive and in a body and stuff like that.
Got one.
Yeah, maybe there's some people here who don't have bodies who are hanging out. That'd be cool, right?
Well, I tell them to leave the
tight.
chair. See if there's a few chairs.
Yeah, I've got some words for y'all, but before I do that, I want to let you guys know that I have a new book of poems called Nipples Over Eyelids, and if you want to take home a little copy of me to either like light on fire or read or like put on the top of your toilet and collect dust, make your like house guests think you read stuff, yeah, let me know. You can give me like a few dollars, like $5 would be cool, but if you don't have that and you really want it, I don't know, just give me a high five or something. Yeah, alright, so, yeah, sorry, enough with the disclaimers. It's funny that it's insanity because I don't know if I've like written like a sane poem, so it works out like super well. Thank you for whoever picked that. That's wow. This is called Self Outside of Self in Shape of Drop. I wrap gauze around all open wounds and readdress misery, slip into misery. One cannot miss eyes if they never had them in the first place. Replace absence with a frequency that sandwiches my body between two mirrors. Each way I look, I continue. What a way to get clean. Bathe in fire. Only light bulb left afterwards. Stage melts. Never knew it was plastic. Fusing flesh with non-feeling, it fixes all of us in theory. But I am not in void or television or... I am in this home. This body, this anxiety, indecision, and murmurs crawl up legs like shadow, not prey until you meet the hunt. We dive into asphalt once it has been repaved, take out the trash, hold the people we love, or don't. Unfortunately, self-harm is self-love, and I cannot shake off these wounds. Misery crawls back into absence, give it away to smoke. How morning pours 3 hot cups into my hands, how sick I am of becoming. Regardless, I have left myself in enough places to know that I am plenty. Given logic a fair chance, sunk into gravel instead. Sharp has a way of caress. We can hold ourselves upright with shards of glass. Let sun shine through us. Thank you.
Right on the theme, like a nail with the head. You know what I meant. And Rob would be next, and then David will close us out as well we know.
Door prize.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to read it first, though.
The Human March. Legs open, dick in, legs open, baby out. Legs open, dick in, legs open, baby out. Do we know what we're about? Seems to be a little doubt. Mouth open, food in, ass open, poop out. Mouth open, food in, ass open, poop out. On these nuclear kegs of powder, desperation getting louder. Mouth open, mind shut, legs wide, eyes closed. Mouth open, mind shut, legs wide, eyes closed. Fearing, killing, making wars, making daughters into whores. Eyes shut, fists closed, heads dead, heart froze. Eyes shut, fists closed, heads dead, hearts froze. Enslaving other animals, raping the land, exploiting and raping our own gay band, turning jungle into sand. Our special suicide, well planned. Insanity. I've looked into insanity's eyes. Insanity wants to fuck. Insanity is a collapsing prison with inmates running amok. Insanity destroys what it loves and hates what it destroys. Insanity cannibalizes itself. We are insanity's toys. Seductive, free, elusive. I can't be any clearer. Insanity is why I'm afraid to look into the mirror. And finally, the lighter side of insanity. This is called caps. Why do the madcaps get all the notoriety? It doesn't feel fair to our myriad millinery. Maybe you're a glad cap, ever ready with a smile, happy to give a hand, uncomplaining all the while. Maybe you're a bad cap, dangerous and charming. Does anyone else here find charming folk alarming? Maybe you're a rad cap, never doing what you're told, unpredictable, unrestrictable, reckless and bold. Maybe you're a sad cap. Have you been diagnosed? Though I find happy people more peculiar than most. Maybe you're a fad cap, following along. Let's get tattooed or pierced while we sing a top 40 song. Maybe you're a had cap, living in poverty. More and more each day in this sea of inhumanity. Of course, if you're a madcap, there's no shame in that. In fact, in this nutty world, being mad is where it's at.
Now David Erdreich will close us out. He is chose the last word as the door prize in last week, so he kicks off and concludes the second half.
So I will not be here next week. Sometimes on third Wednesdays I do sing-along in First Congregational Church, which is all improvised with Soboso, which was started by Bobby McFerrin, but now it's other folks. But I will be here August 1st as a feature. As a feature, and also I have a buddy who's going to make up a flyer on October 6th. I will be at Piedmont Piano, and I do an annual Jazz Meets Poetry, where I do what I did tonight with Richard. I have musicians improvise behind poets. Dan has done it.
That's right.
A number of people who've been here have done it. So I'll have flyers, and you're invited. And I have a buddy back east who I saw last month, who's a great self-taught cartoonist, and I'm having him do a flyer. So I'll be. And it's at Piedmont Piano, it was at Avanova. I moved it to a classier venue, Piedmont Piano, which is on 17th and San Pablo, and I got to fill the seats, so help me out. I'll be pushing it every chance I get, which I don't usually do. But. Okay, so endangered species, enduring values. Last month or a month and a half ago, this book was presented by Shizui Siegel, and she had all the people in here present their stuff. So I'm going to read you two by Kimi Sugioka. Kimi Sugioka is a poet, songwriter, and educator who earned an MFA from Naropa University's Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, a San Francisco Poetry Slam winner, and founding member of the spoken word group Blood Test. She has a book published by Manic D Press, The Language of Birds, and a recording of her song. She takes the measure of the world through the lens of a utopian educator in a dystopian system, a bicultural woman of color, and a single mother. Sweet Nothings by Kimi Sugioka. I have decided to whisper sweet nothings into your ear tonight because it's all I really know how to do. I learned early from the maid who took care of me when my mother could not, a black woman who knew the weight and size and shape of color in Moncour, North Carolina. I didn't know what color I was. My birth certificate said white, but I was an almond-eyed anomaly born into the whiskey-laced womb of the South to a white mother and a Japanese father whose animosity for one another clawed well past color and culture. Not that I could see color until I moved to Berkeley, California, onto Telegraph Avenue in 1965. I mean, I saw it in the picture shows, Gunsmoke and Wagon Train, where I mistook myself not for the Indian princess, but for the blue-eyed blonde. It must have been the humidity. But that's a long time ago. I have been identified as Native, Navajo, Cherokee, Hawaiian, Eskimo, to the eye of my beholders for so long, I finally gave up and invisibly claimed that heritage, proud to wear the hair and eyes of the disenfranchised and the wiser for walking those irrefutably ambiguous borderlines. Here I am, knowing nothing so well, I can practically tell.